With me today, I have Dan Manson, NCL Commissioner, Franz Payer, CEO of CyberSkyline and NCL Game Maker, and Meredith Kasper, who is a penetration tester, purple team extraordinaire for, oh my God, Meredith, I just forgot, Hurricane Labs. And yeah, that's our group. Ooh, I'm doing great today. Today, we're going to talk about how the NCL games can be used to launch cybersecurity careers. I constantly like to say that the NCL games takes curriculum to career in a way that makes learning feel like playing. And with 65% of entry-level jobs requiring 3 to 5 years of experience, we need to figure out how to bridge that gap to get our students the first 3 to 5 years of experience. And NCL is a great way to do that. Dan, why don't you give us a little bit of background about where NCL comes from and what are some of the goals of the National Cyber League? Dan, you're on mute.
Yes. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you, everyone. Cybersecurity competitions are new. Still 25 years since the first DEF CON, 15 years since the seminal paper exploring a national cybersecurity exercise by Hoffman, Rosenberg, Dodge, and Ragsdale, and almost 10 years since we came up with National Cyber League. Those of us that started National Cyber League were involved with other competitions, specifically the Collegiate Cyber Defense competition. And we thought CCDC was great for what it did, but it didn't do enough. You only had one team from a school, 8 players on a team. As soon as you lost in a regional, you were done for the year. We wanted to have more of a season approach to competition where everyone plays through. Everyone plays the entire season and there's no limit for how many can play. The criteria for playing NCL from the beginning has been you only need to be taking one course at any higher education institution. We've expanded that in the past few years to say all high school students can play. And we've had tremendous growth. We really believe that you can measure competencies in competitions. So from the beginning, we've had what's called a scouting report. Students get individual metrics and they get team performance stats. Those who play NCL join a community of shared passion for cybersecurity. And over time, that community has really taken off. We had 12,500 students play this year. And I think the support we have for the community is unparalleled, thanks in large part to what Kaitlyn has done with the NCL ambassadors and the Crypto Kate site. And the platform is world-class, thanks to Franz Payer and Toby Lin with CyberSkyline. So the combination of having a fantastic game platform and a community that gets to feel like they're part of the same community playing the game and everyone plays to the end, I think are reasons for our success.
So I want to talk about the platform in just one second, but before that, Meredith, can you talk about what some of the key benefits of the National Cyber League game specifically?
Certainly, there are 4 key benefits, the first of which is the curriculum. The curriculum is based around learning objectives that are structured around some of the industry recognized certifications, such as the Security Plus, as well as the CEH. And then it measures skills that are specific to our industry, such as open source intelligence, if you are in an offensive position, password cracking, log analysis, if you're on a blue team side, and then of course, many more throughout our 9 categories. The next one important benefit is availability. It is highly available across people who are, I believe, 14 and up. And so long as Dan mentioned earlier, you are taking one course in a higher education institution, you are able to access the platform, learn throughout the games.
Hey, Meredith, can you talk about some of the bizarre devices you've played the games on?
Yes. One of my favorite ways to tell the players who say, I don't have the ability to access the NCL games right now, I'm in front of a PlayStation. I've competed in the NCL games from my phone, my iPad. This year, I even did a section of log analysis for my wonderful little Amazon Echo. It literally works on everything. It's a web-based platform, and you are able to complete about 80 or 90% of the challenges that way. It just depends on how far you're willing to dig.
If you want to go ahead and continue with the other benefits, I just think that it's really great that we're able to play it on so many things. We can talk about that more when we talk about the platform, but Meredith has definitely experimented more than any of our other player ambassadors as far as devices go.
My goal is to find one that will not work and then figure out a way to make it work. The next important benefit, as you were saying, is the accessibility. When you are in the platform and competing in the games, each challenge has a labeled level of difficulty ranging from easy to hard, and those difficulty levels are true to form. And then, of course, you know, those easy challenges are designed for those students who are new to information security, cybersecurity. They just want to get their feet wet. They want to start out. And those easy challenges are for them so that they can easily follow along with what they need to get done. Medium will give you a little bit less help. And then, of course, you know, hard is for those who have been here for a little bit or who have spent some time in the industry. And the gentlemen over at CyberSkyline love to give them a fun puzzle.
And then, of course, there's always the scouting report. Franz, before we get to the scouting report, can you tell us a little bit about where CyberSkyline, the organization, came from?
Yeah, so CyberSkyline actually started as a dorm room project at the University of Maryland. My co-founder and I, Toby, we basically we're getting a little bit tired of the existing CTF space. We wanted to take like a new swing at it. This was back in 2014, and most of the CTFs at the time were having stability issues, like the system would just crash. So we wanted to address some of those. But more importantly, we wanted to tie more of what you do in a CTF to what happens in the real world. A lot of CTF challenges typically are a little bit contrived, like go do this random thing and you'll get a random flag. And it's not entirely clear why you're performing whatever it is that you're doing. And so we're like, well, let's tie it to some actual business functions. So all of our challenges actually have you doing a task which you could see doing in a real world environment. So for example, we might give you a series of logs and artifacts. So we might say, this is evidence of a breach. Can you take this information and identify which server was attacked and what vulnerability was exploited and who the attacker was and what information they steal? Or we have you conduct a pen test on a web application. So all of these tasks, they're not necessarily like the contrived CTF, hey, just go perform this random thing. When you do the task, you'll get a flag. It's like you're doing this task because there's a reason to do this task. And it really, like Kate mentioned, saying from curriculum to careers, really trying to bridge that gap between what you might learn in the classroom and what you might want to do as a career, because we constantly hear students saying, like, I'm taking these classes, but I don't see how this will apply in the real world. And that's kind of what we're aiming to do, is show you how what you're learning, how that applies to the real world.
Franz, can you talk a little bit about one of the things that I find really unique about the platform, and one of the reasons that I love it, is that you don't have to get all the way to the hardest part of the challenge in order to get points. You get a lot of points as you go, and a lot of those questions actually lead you down the path of discovery. Can you talk about sort of how you design those challenges in that way?
Yeah, so we designed the challenges to basically leave breadcrumbs. The idea being that we were frustrated with a lot of CTFs who would just be like, here's one challenge, there is one flag. There's like no partial credit. You either get it or you don't get it. And we wanted people to at least be able to get partial credit if they're able to get along the way, but also guide them as a beginner, how do I get to that end goal? Because if you just look at a challenge and you don't see the steps to take you to the end goal, you're not learning anything new. It's just completely opaque. And so in the example that I gave, where we're giving you these logs, our first question might be, which server was compromised? And so we're taking this big objective, which is we basically want you to do a report on a breach. And we've narrowed it down. We say the very first thing you should do is just figure out, who is compromised, which server was compromised. And then when you finally get that correct, you get the confirmation, okay, at least I got that right. And that helps you along the way, because now that you know which server was compromised, it makes it much easier to figure out which like what software is running or which specific exploit was running. If you're able to narrow down who was attacked, those questions are much easier. And so we might go from that to then, okay, who was the attacker? And then you'll go look and figure out, well, which IP addresses reached out to that device, and that narrows down your scope. And as you go through these questions, you're building your own methodology for, if you were given this task in the real world, how would you start looking at the problem? It might not be the way that we presented the order of the questions. You might skip to a later question, but the idea being that you have a bunch of different stepping stones to get to that end path. And typically for the longer challenges, you shouldn't be in a situation where you don't know what to do completely. At the very least, you have some sort of starting point. And from there, you might say, oh, I know how to do step number 1. I don't know how to do steps number 2 and 3. And then you look into doing that rather than being completely lost.
Meredith, can you talk about how that breadcrumb style approach translates to the player experience and the eventually what you get on your scouting report?
Certainly. So that breadcrumb style experience is great for, as Franz was saying, understanding step 1, and then, you understand, okay, I don't know steps 2 and 3 yet, but for a new player just coming into the games and just stepping into the industry as, a high schooler or a freshman or even a lifelong learner who's a non-standard student, they can follow step number 1 from some wonderful guide, especially because we have some wonderful blogs on how to do some of the challenges. And from there, you can take that breadcrumb and start investigating. And one of the best things you will ever learn in our industry is the ability to Google well and to find exactly what you're looking for and to find an amazing write-up or something that is out there. And our players do a great job of hunting down some very obscure references on different ways to achieve the same answer. And it's kind of amazing to watch some of them work through it during the team game if you're on a team with a newer player.
I'll add to the scouting report in 1 second, but while we're talking about the obscure references, Meredith or Franz, who would like to talk about our lovely meme culture in the game, which I think brings a lovely personality to the games that really engages with our target demographic, which is high school and college students.
I can take that one.
You kind of put them in there, Franz.
Yeah, I mean, we have a laugh once in a while. Sometimes people get really intense about the NCL, and we want to remind people that this is a game. It's a learning experience. It's for you to have fun. And so a lot of that ties into how we build our challenges. And so very frequently we'll have like a common theme or meme that goes along
like
with
Tom.
the season.
Tom is our most
Tom
beloved and hated character.
Tom is a beloved character. Tom is our office goofus. He will often go on vacation, and part of some challenges you might experience might have to do with Tom and his shenanigans, where he's leaving behind forensics evidence, and you have to figure out, what did he do? Him losing his itinerary for his vacation, and you having to look at packet captures with his internet history to figure out what he did. So you'll have silly things like that. Many seasons will also have whatever's in the
honk game, the goose game, whatever that was.
So a couple of seasons ago, we had the Untitled Goose Game being a big thing that was trending. So we had a lot of memes from that game. This past season, Among Us really picked up. So a lot of like the flags and stuff and images that you would find within NCL. I think we also had a packet capture specifically of game data from Among Us. We also had a web app which had you vote for the imposter.
We had some Minecraft stuff, I heard.
Yeah, we had a Minecraft
I heard. Yeah.
Log analysis challenge where you were actually looking at Minecraft server logs to figure out what was going on. So we don't, like I said,
keep it cool.
We try to keep it interesting for people. At the very least, you can you now know that with the current patch of Among Us, you can get a lot of data about who's doing what by looking at the packet capture. So those are the types of things that you can expect just to keep things fun and lively. At the end of the day, it's about learning and not necessarily about, who's the most intense about this. We want people to have fun.
And then I'm going to follow up on Meredith, like the scouting report. I personally use the scouting report as sort of a metric of where I am and then where I want to be. For example, one season, I thought I did so poorly in, oh, I don't even remember what category. I want to say it was like log analysis or something. And then I looked at the scouting report and I had ranked 7th in the nation. So it wasn't that I was bad at it. It was that the challenges were extremely difficult. And it helps you get a better sense of where you actually stand versus your peers at the same level. And then you can always use your performance. You can compare your performance in your scouting reports. So I'll find the blog and post the link in just a second. But I used to put a ton of stats from my scouting report into my resume. If you currently go to my LinkedIn, I have scouting reports attached to my LinkedIn. Of course, now I have an official position with NCL, but we allow our players to list NCL as their work experience so that they can attach their scouting report and get it very high up on their resume. We just ask that they're honest. We ask that you don't put that you're a pen tester or a forensic specialist or a SOC analyst. We ask that you put that you're a player or a participant or a competitor or even a team captain or a team lead if you held those positions. So as long as you are honest, you can list NCL under your work experience so that it pops up really high on your LinkedIn resume. There's a question from Tim. Are scouting reports sent to students? Yes, they can access it from their CyberSkyline platform. Franz, can you talk a little bit about the distribution of the scouting report? And if you don't mind, can you share a sample scouting report on the screen if we have that ability?
Yes, just give me some time to stall. So the NCL scouting reports, we send them out at the end of the season. Basically, we will send out an email with a link to go and download it to everyone. Coaches will also get a copy of all of their student scouting reports, and so they can have that at their disposal if their student loses it. And I think we have it shared up here. So this is what the scouting report looks like. We kind of have a description of what the NCL season is for any employers that you want to send this to, as well as a detailed description of the specific categories. As you go through, what we're doing is we're showing you your overall ranking, and so you're getting information about how you place compared to everyone else in the different parts of the game. So we have the preseason, the individual game, and the team game. You'll get a scouting report for the preseason individual game. You'll get a separate one for the team game, and you can see performance at every single category. And it's including your points, your accuracy, how much you've completed. You're going to get a ranking nationally and within your bracket. So as you go through the National Cyber League, one of the big things that we do is in the preseason at the beginning, we have a 1 week long event where people go through and solve challenges, and that's meant to benchmark you to make sure that we're comparing the beginners against the beginners and the more advanced students against the advanced students. And so you're going to be put into a gold, silver, and bronze bracket. So that way, if you're a beginner in here, you have a better sense of who your peers are, and that way, you don't have to worry about, as a freshman, if you're completely new, having to stack up against a senior who's got 4 years under their belt. This allows you to understand how you're doing relative to how you've started.
There's a couple questions in the chat that I want to address, but I'm also stalling a little bit. There's a question about how to put it on your paper resume. And if you just type scouting report on the CryptoCate blog, it'll bring you to the screen I'm about to share. Do I have anything from work? 1 second while I make that a brand new window and cover up my work. Screen. So on here, there's a blog called the Why the NCL Scouting Report is Important. This is actually one of the first blogs that helped found the CryptoCate site. And you can see a copy, which I'm sure is not large enough at this time, of how I actually listed NCL on my resume for, honestly, the job that I have. I've been in the same job since I broke into the industry, and I broke into the industry because of my work with NCL, because of my scouting report, and because of the writing I was doing on the NCL games. So my employer didn't know much about the NCL games, but they were able to find out a lot about it on my website. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I'm sure I saw more questions just pop up. There's another question. Can federal agencies be educated about NCL if they haven't already been informed about the skills participants bring with them? Franz, do you want to address that?
We're happy to talk to people and share more. If you have people that you want us to talk to, just forward us this way. The scouting report at the very top should have a description about what everything does. But part of our goal with talking to people is to spread advocacy and to spread understanding of the scouting reports and the value that it provides to all employers, including government agencies. And so we're more than happy to chat with anyone that you might think might be relevant for us to chat with.
There's a question of, is there any cost to students? It is $35 per season, and for that you get access to the NCL training gymnasium, the preseason game, which is an individual game, the individual game, which is the one your scouting report is based off of, and a team game. So you basically get 4 competitions for $35. There's another question about, is it open all the time? Meredith, do you want to talk about how the season breaks down?
Sure. So for the season, it's usually about a 9-week process, if I remember off the top of my head. And that goes from the end of registration, or when the training gym opens, which will last throughout the entire season, to the next, which is the preseason game, which lasts for 1 week. And that gives students to go in and spend a lot of time, or however much time they want, over a number of days going through the challenges, so that they can get their appropriate rank, bronze, silver, or gold for the individual season. The individual season game is 1 weekend. It goes from Friday at 1 p.m. to a Sunday at 9 p.m. We do highly advise you sleep during that period at some point, as well as get food, take some breaks. And then the team game will last for that same duration, about 3 weeks later. And I believe the gym is open for about 2 to 3 weeks after the team game closes. I might be a bit off on the times there. I know it closes mid-December this season.
Yeah, that's about right. We've been expanding the duration with which the gym is open, and so coming up in the spring, the gym is going to be open all the way from February 15th until May 28th. So if you're worried, oh, I'm busy, I'm not going to have time to take a look at that, it's a pretty good amount of time that you have to work on the gym, as well as the gym is open while all the other events are occurring. And so if you're going through the preseason, you're going through the individual game or the team game, and you're stuck, and there might be a challenge that's similar in the gym, you can go back to that during the game and reference that and learn whatever it is that you didn't cover before, so that you can answer the question during the game.
There's another question about, is it too late to start for this year? It is too late for this season, but our next season registration opens in like February-ish, maybe, probably January. I feel like it always opens for my birthday.
February 1st.
Okay. And that will be for next season. Trying to catch up with these questions, trying to make sure that we get all the thing. I think we've covered all of these. If I haven't gotten to your question, post it again. I promise I'll try to catch up. Meredith, as a player, can you talk about how you've taken the skills from the games into your career? I'm sorry, we have the mopiest child on the planet.
Okay. So back when I was a player who was still ranked, one of my favorite categories in the NCL was log analysis. And I loved to go through those challenges because they're not time consuming, but they force you to look at data in different ways that you wouldn't normally expect to look through a large amount of data, or even a small amount of data. And I know that Kate and I complete those challenges in very different ways, and that's something that I see across so many of our students. I know Kate prefers to use Excel for log analysis. I have a very strong love of Splunk or some larger log management system, but the NCL is what actually forced me to start learning Splunk, and I was able to put it on my resume before I got to my first internship, where I had the pleasure of spending 2 years in a SOC doing log analysis every day. And for me, that was absolutely amazing because it gave me the chance to show, okay, yes, I got these skills, I know how to play with this tool, and now I can actually use it out in the real world. And one of the other great things about specifically the log analysis category in NCL is that the challenges are never the same. They always have some different type of application, or as I said earlier, they had Minecraft. I believe we had version.
We had
of
Among
Zoom.
Us.
We had Among Us. There was a version of Zoom this year, if I remember
So
correctly.
what I love about the NCL categories is they teach you that there's no wrong way to get a right answer. So like Meredith said, we do log analysis very differently. It's actually really fun when Meredith and I get together because I am usually pretty good at thinking about how to sort the data, but not necessarily like doing the thing to sort the data. So we had a challenge this season where Meredith knew how to filter as long as I knew what filters needed to be applied. And we ended up finding some answers really quickly, you know, pairing up our skills. But I think it's really great that you can come in. I was not a technical person when I started playing in the NCL games. I was a theater major. I had a theater degree as a director, and that's all I wanted to do. And then my partner at the time made more money and worked half as hard. And I said, hold on, I'm smarter than you. So I went back to school. And at the time I played in my first NCL game, I couldn't find the Control-Alt-Del button because it's apparently 3 buttons and it's Control-Alt-Delete. So when I went into the games, I didn't know anything at all. And I really struggled. But I was like, oh, well, I could probably put this data into Excel and filter and sort it. And people make fun of me because they're like, oh, how would you do that at work? I literally put the log files into Excel at work. Like that's how I do it. And yes, that's not, you know, Linux command line, which is what we tend to have like the preconceived notion that you have to do it, you know, the true hacker way. I don't think that exists in the NCL games. I think you come in with whatever skills you have and you use them in the best way that you're able, and then you share that knowledge with each other. I was able to learn like the grep and the awk and the stuff like that because I would do it in Excel, get the answer, and then go try to configure the correct command line methodology as well. And that's actually how I taught myself the Linux commands. But at the same time, like I just do what's best for me because I can find the answer usually faster than some of the people who are making these perfect little commands, just because that's what I'm familiar with. And I think that's such an important message to our players, that, you know, there's a lot of ways to do things and there's no one right answer. I know we are approaching time, so I do just want to open the floor to any questions. If you guys post in the chat, we'll try to answer like lightning fast. And if not, we thank you all for your time. We really hope that you take an interest in the NCL games. If you go to the CryptoKate website, there should be an NCL button. And then if you hit the Start Here coaching guide, it's kind of where we put all the information that for like people who've never been into the games to sort of get started. It's a pretty long blog with a lot of links. Bear with me, there's a lot to know. I can grab that link really quick, but the CryptoKate site is the official resource for everything you need to know about the NCL games. There's practice challenges by learning objective category. I'll grab that link as well if I can move fast enough. There's also a bunch of everything guides. So those guides tell you how to get started in the different categories in the game. We have a blog about like how not to cheat during the NCL games, which, you know, I'm so glad that we have to have that, but here we are. When will the 2020 fall results show up on the NCL website? Franz, I think we're like in progress of that.
Yeah, we just sent out scouting reports earlier this week. I think the plan is to have those out, you know, if not before Thanksgiving, immediately after Thanksgiving.
And then if you have any questions to follow up with us, feel free to reach out to info@nationalcyberleague.org, or if you want to reach out to Meredith and my team specifically, you can email ambassadors@nationalcyberleague.org. I'm going to post both as quickly as I can type. Are there any other questions? I think we got it all in time. That was a bit of a rush.
Yeah, you actually have a couple of minutes still.
I mean, we're happy to hang out for as long as you guys want. Meredith and I are pretty used to doing live shows. What was that?
If you want to mention Crowdcast.
Oh yeah, so every well, not we just finished last week, but during the season, every Thursday night we have a live show. It's like 40% variety show, 60% good information, but it's one of the ways that we really connect with our players, and some of our coaches hang out there too. It's crowdcast.io/NCL. I'll also post that link. I'm sorry there's so many links. I hope you guys are able to capture all them. Crowdcast.io. It's absolutely wonderful. All of our shows are recorded, so you can go back and watch some of them. Usually, the beginning and the end of the season are a little less serious and a little less content filled. But it's also just a great way that we answer our players' questions live throughout the season, so that everyone feels like they always have a resource to go to at all times. Really, our goal as player ambassadors is to give players a way that they feel they can reach out and have their voice heard, whether that's positive or negative feedback. I've gotten Twitter DMs where I had to like go call NCL and have or go call Franz and Toby and have them make mild adjustments during the game because, players had feedback. And I think, it's really great that our players feel safe to reach out and have their voice heard. I think that's such an important part of this. We really do what we do for the players. And Dan can attest, I basically chase him down and scream at him that this is what's best for my players. So with that, thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. The ambassador at nationalcyberleague.org is a touch slower than info app because there's a more reliable adult who answers the info app. But if you want to reach out to us specifically, you're absolutely welcome to do so. And we can point you to all the best training content.
Thank you, everyone.